This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
As far as Kevin goes, just want to wish them a merry off-season and a happy Christmas.
Your opinion of him wasn't too high after Bristol. I take it this does nothing for that.
Oh, man, opinions is certainly not changing, but it's all good, and glad we're moving on. Proud of our team.
Is it over, and can you race around him and win the championship without worrying about what's going on with him?
Well, for us, I mean, we're just eyes forward and just excited to be moving on. I mean,
people want rivalries, but yet there's still people pissed off about that. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is the Revved Up Sports Show. We are coming to you from Texas. Hashtag Real Race Talk down south. It is showtime, Bobby Chaffee. I'm Rodney Rodriguez. Bobby, man, is there a hurricane coming? Did I see that right? Coming from the other side, from the left side, it looks like.
I don't know. All I know is you are hot.
Oh, I know. I fixed it. I just fixed it. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. I thought I did.
I don't know. It still sounds messed up on my side.
Okay. We'll go back and fix it. You talk and we'll work on this.
All right, so basically, it's been a unique day. Am I coming in too hot now, too?
No, you sound good.
No, now everything's from coming in hot, but that's the joy of live radio. There we go. I still got you.
Okay.
All right, so anyway, as we try to get the radio issues worked out here, it's been an interesting day, both trying to tie in everything with the race at the Revved, the cutoff race at the Revved, the incident between Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott. So it's been a lot of fun trying to digest all of that. Also pulling right in. Also race week up at Texas Motor Speedway. So we'll be spending some time with our friends up there this weekend and get a chance to be around the NASCAR crowd and some friends this weekend up at Texas Motor Speedway. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good time to get to hang out with people. And again, I think it's a really big deal that we're actually getting to do this again. I mean, that's always the tricky part. I mean, last year it was like, oh my goodness, just what a mess. But I mean, this year back at it again, and I think that's the beauty of it, that you get to have those events. And I mean, it's been a crazy year and a half, and I mean, just thank goodness. I mean, it's about damn time.
Well, I think it's fun that everybody's trying to be able to get back together. I think it definitely, as we've mentioned so many times on this program with the COVID stuff, it makes you more appreciative of what you had when you don't get to have it anymore. And I think part of what it is NASCAR's still on a high note. Although some people are depressed when they've been watching the next-gen test there at the Revved the last couple of days because they're like, that's not a stock car, that's a sports car. Well, guess what? We're not racing stock cars anymore. We're racing sports cars. Everybody get used to it. Because I've already got a feeling that as long as it's racing good, nobody's going to give a damn what them cars look like.
Oh, somebody will. I guarantee you somebody will. But anyway, most importantly, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, I mean, keep that in mind, everybody. We know a lot of folks. I mean, our friend Debbie Williams, has battled through that, and it's a tough situation right there. So anyway, but keep that in mind. Hey, we've got the Russ Hot Pit, and the reason that we thought that would be something good because we get so many questions all the time, and it's like I mean I have no idea, what to answer. I mean, number one, I kept getting okay. So now that you had the big race at Cotton Bowl. Which, what a great success that looked like. I mean, you had a lot of cars in there, and Tim Homeyer will join us at 7 o'clock, and he'll talk about that big win. And then at 7:30, Jerry Goff. We may have some other guests. We don't know. But and I can't ring the bell, Bobby. I had to send the bell to Cody Brusso. So the bell is not here. I do have another bell, but I just haven't gotten it to the studio yet.
Uh-oh, well, that's not good. I knew you were going to mail her the bell. I thought you were going to mail her one of the spare ones, but you actually mailed her the actual Brusso bell.
I pried that thing off the desk, and I sent it to her with the glue and everything. I can only wonder what the USPS is wondering what the hell's going on in there. I'll probably get arrested. Damn, see, that's where I need to hit the bell. Shit.
I know you should have sat there and tried to bring the bell up to the studio. Well, there's always next week. Well, actually, next week we'll probably go again on Tuesday, depending on what shakes out with TMS there on Monday. I don't know if we're going to go on Monday or Tuesday again next week, but we'll know when. We'll let you know when we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing that the Brusso Bell is you get a week off from the Brusso Bell. You get a chance to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, that thing is gone. So, yeah, I mean, one of the questions. So now that the power ranking race, the power rankings, I'm assuming they're still going on. So I had a lot of people that asked me. So now we've had the big race, which was won by Tim Homeyer. So what's next? I mean, I saw that Hop from Hot was there. I think he finished third. So that's one of the questions that I got. So the Russ Hot Pit. I mean, is that done? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, that just goes to show that it's not our power rankings. That is the Race on Texas power rankings.
Yeah.
We are just merely somewhat media participants in that. I wouldn't call it media partners. We're just more of a participant in the power rankings as a way to get them disseminated out to the race fans here in Central Texas or in Texas. But it's going to be interesting. I heard that it was a really exciting show. I did not get a chance to watch it. I was actually down in San Antonio to UTSA alumni party in downtown San Antonio to watch the Roadrunners go 6-0 for the first time ever in program history. But I will not be at the homecoming this weekend because we're going up to Texas Motor Speedway. So I'm going to miss the Rice game, which is going to be a lot of fun because there's about 40,000 people supposed to show up at the Dome and make that place loud as can be.
So we don't know exactly what is going on with that. So that's something that somebody can answer because again, we don't know. So no, I don't think that it would be done yet because we're into big race season. So I would assume that somebody will tell us. And then the other question that I got this a lot. I mean, people are asking me like I'm some kind of dirt expert or something. The difference between a junior limited and an eco mod, economy modified. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that both of those you got young folks driving them, and again that's so important because that's the future of the sport. But I have no idea. I don't know what the difference is. Do you? I mean, I have no clue.
The best of my knowledge is the cars are virtually the same. As the difference is the age of the drivers. Is that an E-mod is more it's what it is called for. It's an economy modified. Not a lot of power to weight ratio with those things. It's old big mod chassis that have it's not a restricted motor. It's not the word I'm looking for, but it's restricted with the ignition box for sure, where they're not able to get the RPMs that you would on a regular mod. And I want to say the junior mods is the same kind of car, except that you're just limited in the age range with the ages of the drivers of that class. I'm more of a fan of an E-mod because then you can just let anybody run an E-mod. Unless there's certain track restrictions on somebody that if you have a regular modified, you can't go back in and run an E-mod.
Well, I was going to say, because I thought that there may be an age difference here, because I think that was one of the questions that had come up, over the weekend about that difference. But I do know some folks that race, and one of them, and I'm not sure the difference, that, they may be a little older. But again, I think it's a great, for aspiring dirt track racers, I think it's a great class, to get the young ones in, and I mean the compacts at 37 they do really well, but for whatever reason at the CBS they don't do quite as well. I mean when it comes to car count, so I don't know, but I mean a good entry level class is super important. But again, like you're saying there, I mean keep the experienced guys out of it. I mean that's the most important part, I think, to whatever you're going to call your beginner level series.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me personally, I'd rather run an E-mod than a factory stock. But that's just me personally, just because I think that it's probably cheaper and more affordable to get into one of the E-mods than it is to try to break into a factory stock. I mean, you could break into a factory stock for, $5,000 or $6,000. Will you compete up front with the guys in the $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 cars? Probably not. Yeah. So I think that an E-mod is a really good way to go with an entry level class, especially with the way that the purses are structured now. And I think you're going to see that South Texas Speedway has an E-mod class. We got it. So Chris Birmingham checks in. He says the Junior Limited is the sport mod chassis.
Junior Limited. Okay. No.
That makes more sense. That changes things.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it really would. I mean, yeah, that's a huge difference right there when you start factoring that in. So, yeah, that definitely, big time. But I mean, the main thing is, I mean, to get the pipeline of new blood in there. I mean, I do think, and I've. I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but I mean, I've had folks that have said that each one of those classes maybe not the most entertaining, and I mean, I think that's the other thing that you have to think about there. Where this is the new blood. I mean, these are people that are learning how to race, and that's part of that right there. I mean, this can't be like it used to be back in the old days, where with the bomber class at Longhorn or San Antonio or Corpus, where you would have these races out there and they were highly entertaining. This is different. I mean, there's an age limit and everything in there, and I think that's hugely important. So I don't know about it. I think that either one of these classes is a really good way to dive in, like we're talking about. But I mean, how do you compare that? I mean, because I would think as well that a mini stock or a sport compact or whatever you want to call it, a tuner. I mean, I would think that would be a good entry level thing as well. But this is dirt, so it's different. So you want them to be open wheel.
I think it's really weird how the entry level class, like you said, at I-37, the tuners, there's a bunch of them. There's quite a few of them. For some reason, they've never caught on a Cotton Bowl. I have my part, just due to running the high five that season and a half that I did. I'm obviously partial to the tuner concept, to the mini stock concept, but I don't know why it's not taking off at Cotton Bowl. I think that maybe either a junior limited or an E-mod class there at Cotton Bowl might be beneficial as an entry level class over one of the tuners. Yeah. I don't think that you have to take them completely away, but maybe alternate them out, where one race you run the E-mods and one race you run the sport compacts, kind of see which class takes off and roll from there in 2022.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I was thinking about that for Cotton Bowl. I would think that a junior limited or whichever one it's going to be, I would think that would be more conducive. Damn it. I need the bell, man. Conducive to the Cotton Bowl track. I mean, because like at Edna and at Waco, it's the smaller, the bull ring, whatever you want to call it. But I would think that the open wheel, the junior limited, I would think that would be a bigger draw at Cotton Bowl, just because of the size of the track. I mean, it's wider, it's faster. I mean, I would think that would work better. And plus with that, I mean, you got a little give in the car, a little bit of suspension there. So I would think that would be something really cool. I think that would work out, pretty well there at that track. But I mean, I don't know. It's not for us to decide.
No, it's not. It's not for us to decide, but hopefully, as always, Marianne and H will always take the input of the people involved to see which class will make the better show. That's what H and them are interested in, is the one that's going to make the better show for the fans. When the fans are happy, tends to be everybody else gets a little happier as well.
Yep, that's exactly right. So we're going to the hotline for the first time this evening. We're jumping on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. I don't know how many people realize this in Texas, but it was a massive week over at the Nashville Fairgrounds. I mean, that's one of the most historic tracks. I mean, that's one of the places, that's a marquee place where you want to, I mean, you win a race there, and that's some pretty badass stuff right there. And this young lady right here jumping on the hotline wins in the late models at Nashville Fairgrounds. It's Brittany Zamora. Brittany, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing exceptionally well. So has the high worn off yet after that big win? How incredible was that for you?
Yeah, it still feels really good. It's starting to set in a little bit. Definitely, I wanted to go into the weekend and get a top 5. Last year, I'd finished 6th in the Pro Late Model and 11th in the Super portion of the All-American 400. So trying to use that experience and learn from it and go in this weekend and get respectable results. Definitely wasn't expecting a win, but very happy with the outcome. And it's always cool to add a little bit to the history books as well.
Absolutely.
So, Brittany, let's talk about your racing career before you got it. Obviously, we're going to get in more about the in-depth of that super big win that you had at Nashville, but obviously that you don't just jump right into a super late model and a late model, do you? Talk about some of your progression from where you started to how you got to the late model win there in Nashville.
Yeah, so I've been racing for 18 years. I started out in go-karts, did that for a while. Worked my way up into stock cars. I raced mini stocks, late models, super late models. I've done full-time Canon series, so I definitely have a lot of experience in the racing world, and I just wanted to move my racing out east a little bit. I got to experience the West Coast racing loved it, had a lot of fun, raced against a lot of great people and talent. But I kind of figured it was that time in my career to try something else. So moved out east, and this is my third race with the Rackley War team at Nashville Fairgrounds. So hoping to keep this momentum going and get a couple more races with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brittany, let's talk about it. I mean, for you this year, I mean, it hasn't been the full calendar for you. I mean, there's been, I mean, obviously you want to race as much as possible, but for you, I mean, you haven't gotten to do that. I mean, how cool is it that making the most of every opportunity to get out there and win this massive race this past weekend?
Yeah, that was huge for me. I haven't been racing as much this year. I've been focusing a little bit on school, and I made the big move from Washington, Tennessee, so that took up some of my time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm settled here in Tennessee, you're trying to find the right connections, the right sponsors, still doing that stuff every day, and it took me a little bit longer than I had liked, but I'm glad we got the opportunity to, race this past weekend. And like you said, it's just making the most of every opportunity. I did a lot of studying for the race, and thankfully I have a really good team behind me that gave me a good car. So was able to put those two together and go out and give ourselves a good run.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brittany, you talked about growing up on the West Coast. Can you tell the difference in racing styles from the East Coast to the West Coast? Is that, we've heard that from different people, that sometimes the West Coast guys are race slightly differently than the East Coast guys do. Can you tell that difference when you're racing?
I can tell a little bit here and there, but the competition out on the West Coast, I feel like, is pretty underrated sometimes. We got some really good drivers out there and some tough competition. So everywhere that I've been, I've had to work for my wins or even work for podium finishes. And I definitely am more used to the West Coast scene. That's what I raced for most of my life, and I've only been out east for a year or so now, but adjusting to it pretty well. It's kind of the same general idea, same racing procedures. I'm still trying to learn how these racers race out here. I'd like to be a bit more aggressive with some of them. But I don't want to go in there and door somebody and then not know how they race back. They could go in the next corner and dump you. They could go and race you fair, So that's kind of the fine line I'm trying to learn out here that I already kind of knew with the racers out west. So I'd say that's probably the biggest learning curve, is trying to learn the racing styles of the drivers out here.
Yeah, for sure. So, Brittany, how hard is it like for you? I mean, we see so many young drivers that, like you, I mean, you're doing school and you want to focus on that racing career. And obviously we all want to be race car drivers. I mean, that's what we want to do. But how hard is it for you to find that balance? I mean, it's because, with the racing that you guys do, it's so, it takes up a lot of time. How do you balance your life working all of that at one time?
It's tough. I work part-time. I go to school. I do that stuff online, and I get my racing done, do some sponsorship events, and then it's hard. I feel like there aren't enough hours in the day, but when, you have the passion for something, it's not a bad thing. I'd rather spend my hours, working towards the racing stuff, because I'd rather be on track than not. So it's definitely all worth it.
Yeah.
So, Brittany, let's talk about Nashville. That had to be a really cool deal. Obviously, the Rackley roofing and the WAR cars are really fast there. They've got a great program that's rocking and rolling there in Nashville. Obviously, probably a little bit of pressure on yourself to be in those cars because of the competition they have. But let's talk about the win you had. Obviously, you had a good setup and rolling on that. So how did it feel in the race car? How did the race come to you on that one?
Yeah, I've always had really good equipment and really good cars, crew, everything like that with the Rackley War team. Coming into this weekend, we kept finding a feeling in the car that as a driver, I prefer, I don't like loose cars pretty much. I want to make sure the car is under me.
Yep.
I want to have that feeling of grip and being able to rely on that. But the car was a little bit too tight for us on practice day. We couldn't get it rotated no matter what we did. So we were having a little bit of issue there. But towards the end of the day, and especially Saturday morning, we got it figured out what the issue was. So getting to the race, I really had no problems with that. So I could put the car anywhere I wanted to go. Definitely had, a good spotter and a crew chief giving me the information I need on what's going on around me on the track. So just being able to zone in, and that was 100% of my focus all weekend long. I could only think of what I could do better in the car and how to get ready for the race. And so when me and the team are on the same page, it definitely goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely well done. I mean, what a great win. So what does this do? I mean, what's the rest of the year for you? I mean, is there new opportunities that have come up? I mean, I know it's been great coverage and just, with the massive win. So what's the rest of the year look like for Brittany Zamora on track?
Yeah, so right now I'm still looking for some sponsorships to finish out the season and already starting to plan stuff for next year and what I want to do there. But right now I run solely on sponsorship dollars, so definitely cracking down and getting that secured. This win will definitely help that, going to the sponsors.
Yeah.
So especially having, recent race and having done well in it, the sponsors will really appreciate that. So hopefully we can strike some luck here and get some sponsors on board. I think the rest of the year I'm looking at doing some late model races to finish off the season. Definitely start off and continue that through next season, but I'm also looking to venture out for some other things, hopefully I can fill you guys in on that soon.
Nice.
That's nice. We always like the inside scoop. So,
yes,
so if you get the chance, is the All-American 400 on the radar? Is that a race you want to go to in terms of trying to race on that, or are you more concentrated on some of the shorter events running around the fairgrounds in the Southeast?
Yeah, so I did the All-American 400 last year in the super race, finished 11th, had really good results there for my All-American 400 debut.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely on the radar. I'd love to do it again this year and see how we can improve either late model portion or the super portion. I'd do either one, honestly. But right now, it's kind of coming down to the wire time-wise on securing a ride. So that's what I've been working on this week, is to find sponsorship for that race.
Nice. So, I mean, let's go back to Nashville one more time. I mean, it's one thing to win there. I mean, a lot of great legendary drivers have won there, but for you to win there, a lady winning there, I mean, that's got to be pretty massive for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually didn't know that. So when I got out of the car in Victory Lane, they had informed me that I was the first female to win a race on the 5H, which I thought was really cool. I know there have been some really strong female competitors there in the past, and definitely with some, all the traveling series that go there and everything, and especially for how long the track has been open. So that was definitely a surprise to me, but it's really cool to be the first. But I know I'm definitely not going to be the last. We have just the females in motorsports and where we're at in late model racing is growing, which is really cool to see. So hopefully I can get a few more wins there, and it'd be really cool to see another girl win there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Super cool stuff. Lot of great ladies racing right now, but congratulations, Brittany. We are so happy for you. I mean, when I saw that come across my Twitter feed, I was like very excited because I've followed you for a while, and it's just so exciting. And thanks for taking the time and check in here in Texas. I mean, that's really cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Take care and have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
You bet. Here she is, Brittany Zamora. Low key. I would be totally off the rails after winning that at Nashville.
You probably would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine she had some fun there on Saturday night into Sunday morning. Had to have a couple of days to let it sink in. She's been around the media tour, which is great. So that's helped her out a whole lot. But well spoken. You could tell she's had some type of media classes to her. Yeah. Doesn't have that California girl vibe to her that you think she would with all the experience she has on the West Coast. But definitely, if somebody's looking to sponsor somebody for the All-American 400, and might we even dare say the Snowball Derby coming up here in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, there's not a better person right now that's on a hot streak than Brittany Zamora.
And speaking of that, two things coming up for this weekend. Obviously, you got the Winchester 400, so you've got that coming up. I mean, CRA, they're going to crown a bunch of champions there. And I think the super late models, man. I am looking forward to. I know we'll be at TMS, so we'll be having to check that one out. But man, you get that Winchester 400 going on. I mean, that is going to be so badass. I mean, that always is such a great race. One of the crown jewels right there.
It is, and it's so cool to watch the super late models battle on those high banks. It's one of those things where kind of like peas and carrots or peanut butter and jelly. The super late models on the high banks there at Winchester, man, there's not a better sight to see.
Yeah, Exactly right. We got to talk about the Cars Tour coming up as well, because that's coming up, and one of our guys, one of the friends of the show, we got to talk about him. That's sitting there, possibly about to win a championship. But speaking of winning big things, we're going to talk to the man that wins at Oktoberfest, and the dude posts this picture, and the trophy looked great, but all I could see was a bunch of $100 bills, man, and that's what it's all about right there. It is a man, the driver of the 8-star winner of Oktoberfest, a factory stock, massive race. I keep saying massive, no bell to ring. It is Tim Homeyer. Tim, how we doing, brother?
Pretty good. How are you guys this evening?
Man, we are doing well, dude. What'd you do with all that money? You already spend it?
It's put back in the safe. I don't know that much cash is safe to put in the bank anymore.
Yeah. They'll wonder what the hell you're doing wrong. They're like, oh, what is this guy doing wrong? Absolutely.
So, Tim, let's talk about you've actually run at Cotton Bowl quite a bit and won some bigger races, won some races out there. How did this factory stock shootout thing with the power ranking involved and all that, did that change your approach at all, or did you treat it like just another race, just treat it like another race, rather, is what I'm trying to say?
Well, earlier in the year, whenever the whole power ranking thing came out, it kind of got me more excited about racing again, and I was wanting to hit a couple of tracks a weekend, and then I had some bad luck and had some DNFs and fell off in it, so I didn't really focus too much more on the power rankings. I just tried to go get a win and have fun.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, Tim, talk about that, Homeyer. I mean, this class, I mean, and the whole thing is, I mean, the premise of them doing the factory stock rankings, there's so many damn cars out there. Man, what is it about that? We ask every factory stock driver, what is it about these cars that make them so damn fun to race?
Well, with me coming from a pure stock bomber class, all I've ever raced is a full body car.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's been affordable. And then when this factory stock class came along, the Houston area finally adopted it probably about a year before Gator Motorplex shut down over there in Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped on board with the factory stocks when they merged pure stocks and factory stocks, just because I knew that was going to be the next biggest thing in the Central and South Texas area. So I jumped on board, and I'm glad I did. And it used to be what I considered affordable. It's not an affordable class anymore.
No.
And I think that's mainly because the money that we're running for at times is more than any other class pays. So we spend every dime we can to have top-notch parts, because all the top-running factory stocks have top-of-the-line cars, and they're just tons of talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tim, that kind of led into our discussion we were talking about earlier about trying to get a good entry-level class built at a racetrack where you got to get the new blood coming in. And there was the discussion at Cotton Bowl, was it the little mini stocks or the four bangers, whatever they call that class now, versus a junior limited or an E-mod class? A lot of people, like you're talking about, used to consider the factory stocks the entry-level class. And it definitely seems like over the course of the few years that entry-level and factory stocks are not two words that you hear a lot of together anymore.
No, it's not at all. And I think it will definitely progress a newer driver faster, because a lot of tracks have B mains
Mm-hmm.
every weekend. So the newer drivers know they have to improve really fast to make the show and get seat time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole name of the game right there. I mean, you have to. But speak to that. I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, because I grew up a pavement street stock driver, and my dad built all of the cars in the driveway, and I mean, that's a whole thing here where I've watched with the factory stocks. I mean, it really has evolved into, you've got the purpose-built cars, and I saw the thing, with springs and all this stuff happens. It's so hard to control all that.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of opened up a can of worms again. And I saw a comment on somebody's post talking about catalog racers.
Yep.
And the days of knowledge, guys trying different things to make it work, are pretty much out the window.
Yep.
People try new things like cutting a little bit off the springs to make it work instead of spending another $80 on a spring for a shorter one. that becomes a rule that you can't do it, but you can go buy another spring
Yeah.
that's an inch or two shorter.
Mhm.
So it really makes it tough to come up with something to maybe have a little bit of an advantage that gets in the rules that you can't do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Tim, how hard is it to control that? I mean, is it something that do they need to put more shock rules in place, more spring rules in place? Is it something that's going to work itself out over time with the way that racers are going to be racers? I mean, is there any kind of magic formula to make that happen, or is it just something that's just always going to be there because that's the nature of racing?
I've only been racing since the end of 2010, 2011, and so that's been right around 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen entry-level classes evolve into basically street stocks, and it just keeps revolving.
Yep.
So I think the factory stocks will eventually go to that too, so where we'll have to start over with another class. Each year, the racers are the ones doing it. We ask for more and more and more, and it becomes non-affordable and turns into another class.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that was the death of asphalt racing in Texas. I mean, that's exactly the reason why, and that's what concerns me about watching this class. But let's talk about the weekend. So many cars that showed up there at Cotton Bowl. Walk us through the weekend there. I mean, for you, I mean, it was going to be so important, the qualifying, everything there. Take us through. I mean, just take us through from the start of the weekend all the way to that checkered flag. Taking all that money home.
Well, I knew for a race that big, there were going to be a lot of top-notch drivers there. I knew we would be missing a few because of the Cajun Classic.
Yep.
Over at Arklatex. So, especially Faulkner, I knew that was going to be one less guy that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
But I knew from day one, you got to come out fast. Whenever you have a show that big and you come out struggling from the beginning, you're going to be chasing everybody the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just what I did. I came out not quite as fast as I wanted to be. In qualifying, I was sixth fastest, and I had the fastest lap on my first lap, which normally is on your second lap. But I gave a car in front of me plenty of room, like a straightaway ahead of me, and I caught him and had to pass him on my second lap. So that cut my second lap time down.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it worked out. They had 6 heat races and started me on the pole for my heat race. I won my heat race, and they redrew the top 6, which were the heat race winners, and then had another group of 7 through 12 were the second place heat race guys. And I drew 6. The last number in the bucket was the number 1. So I got very fortunate to draw that number
Yeah.
1, because I think we could have flip-flopped 1 through 6, and just about anybody else could have won that race from the front row.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Tim,
There were
talk about the
definitely some-
difference. Do you prefer? Obviously, you have one of the factory stocks, which is going to be the class you prefer. But is there another one? Do the ice stocks? I've always wondered that as close as they seem to be on track with the ice stocks and the factory stocks, why there's not more crossover with those? Because we get the questions all the time when we're announcing, hey, what does this stock mean? And what does this stock class mean? And what does that stock class mean? When you roll them out of the dirt track, you got a factory stock, a pure stock, a hobby stock, an ice stock. You got them all there. So what is it about the two cars, the two classes, that makes you move more towards the factory stock over, say, an ice stock or a street stock class?
Really, the only thing I can say is tires.
Mm-hmm.
I look at a $25, $30, $35 tire compared to a $120, $130 tire, and that's a pretty easy choice for me. If I had more funds to buy new right side tires every race or two, I would probably run ice stock.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, and having fun in factory stock.
Yeah, for sure. And back to Cotton Bowl. I mean, you mentioned all the guys that were going to show up, and again, Faulkner wasn't there, but I mean, just talk about the heavy hitters, and we keep seeing in factory stock, you've got guys that have run, whether it be a modified or a sport mod or whatever the hell, iStock. They're coming to this class because the money is there. Just talk about the heavy hitters that were there. I mean, to win that race, dude, that is that's quite the accomplishment.
Well, I had Painter up on the outside row,
Right.
outside front row with me for the feature, and he started off the weekend Friday night setting fast time, and won his heat race. So I knew he was going to be hard to deal with, and I think starting position with me on the inside and him on the outside was the only thing that got me cleared of him on the second corner of the first lap. And then a little further back, we had Hopkins.
Yep.
I think he finished second in his heat race, so that put him a little further back in the field. And he had he had a faster car too, and was coming up through the field there toward the end. I think he finished up fourth, I believe. Colin Hodges was right there beside me, or behind me, and one of the restarts, he actually got up to my outside, so that didn't really have me worried, but it definitely had me on my game to not make a mistake.
Yeah, caught your attention. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And, 30 laps, that's one of the longest races we've ran this year, and when you're up in the front like that sometimes, and, you're used to running just 20, and you're running 30 laps and you're trying to hold them off, it's like, oh, man, this is one of those races I wish wasn't 30 laps tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So, Tim, now that you got all the
but
money
I-
from Cotton Bowl, are you going to run any other big races this year?
I plan on going to the Fall Classic in Waco October 22nd and 23rd, and we're getting close to hunting season, so that'll probably be my last race, and it's time to go hunt.
Yeah, there you go. So Tim, is there for you? I mean, talking about Cotton Bowl, I mean, you were so good at that place. I mean, you're good everywhere. I mean, that's the whole thing about it for you. But is there a particular? I mean, do you like the bull ring? Do you like the big track at Cotton Bowl? And I mean, what's a surface that's best for you? I mean, you seem to be good at anything, but what's your preference? I mean, you like the big track? You like the shorter track?
No, I like the smaller tracks. When I first started racing, my home track was Gator over in Willis and Speedorama in Lufkin, which is now shut down.
Nice.
And they're both little old small, tight circle tracks. And Gator was really sandy, so you were going to have a slick track every night. So I prefer the dry slick, and just like Saturday night at Cotton Bowl, you didn't need a whole lot of engine to win that race because that track was slick.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of cautions, but a lot of people were spinning out and didn't have good handle on their cars. So I do prefer the smaller tracks. Cotton Bowl now is my closest track, being that I live in College Station.
Yep.
So I've considered that my home track, but I really like that they only run a selective schedule a couple of times a month. So that's fit more into about how much I want to be racing.
Exactly. Yep. Makes sense.
So, Tim, where's the state of dirt track racing right now in Texas? Obviously, you talked about Gator being closed for a couple of years now. Houston's got 105 that seems to be up and running and being as successful as they can with the new promoters they had down there. Obviously, you've got Cotton Bowl that's there. Waco has been there forever. Is the state of dirt track racing in Texas in a good spot, or is there areas that needs to be improved with it to make it even stronger than it has been the last couple of years?
We've definitely seen tracks come and go, and 105 over in Cleveland is the last Houston area track around. We did have Beaumont at one time, GTRP, and then we had Battleground Speedway there in the Highlands, and then Gator and 105. With the population of Houston and only having one dirt track around there, that they seem to be doing pretty well, but at times can still struggle.
Yep.
I really don't know the future of dirt racing in the Houston area. Some of the other areas seem to be doing really good. South Texas seems to be holding on pretty good with I-37 and South Texas, and then Owen over there at Texana seems to be doing a really, really good job. and then of course your Friday night Heart of Texas. It's been there for long time, so it's still healthy.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Isn't that a crazy thing? I know I've talked to Gina, on the asphalt side about this, in detail, where it's like in the Houston area. I mean, you would think that you could have a couple of dirt tracks, and it's weird with that huge market and so many people that love racing, and the rich tradition of racing in Houston. Even the same thing with San Antonio. It's like, man, it's like, where's it at? I mean, what does it take to get the spark lit?
I really don't know. I want to say at times advertisement, but I think the advertisement's out there. It's just getting the people out of the house and getting them in the stands to see what it's really like.
That's right.
I have friends that I've known for years and have talked about, I'm going to go watch you race sometime. I'm going to go watch you race. And they finally do. And when they do, they're hooked on it. They're like, man, how have I never done this before?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just getting the people out and them seeing what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I think Race on Texas has done that as well with all of their live broadcasts. That's really helped push the sport a lot too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Tim, you said you were living in College Station. That place has got to be a buzz the last couple of days since the old Aggies came in and beat up on Alabama there at Kyle Field.
Nice.
Not kind of going away from racing for a minute. What's life been like in College Station the last 72 hours or so?
Man, it's mixed emotions. You go and beat a team like that, and then the last 2 weekends lose games and never should have lost. But that's just how it goes. So it's always an uproar here in College Station.
Yeah. No, what a great win. What a great win. So Tim, I have to ask you, I mean, I think it's so cool. I mean, you get out there and you drive like hell, and I've seen these videos of you flipping these cars over. It's like, man, there's great pictures and videos of you just like fucking destroying stuff. I mean, speak to that, dude. It's like, man, this Homeyer dude, man, he's checkers a record sometimes.
Well, it definitely wasn't planned.
Oh, for sure.
It's not the first car that I rolled at Cotton Bowl. Luckily, it wasn't the first night out on a brand new car, and it was totaled.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled 4 races ago, and was able to get it back together in 2 weeks. For the next Cotton Bowl race, I ran second and then followed it up with 3 wins behind it. So, hell, I don't know what it did. Maybe it made the car better.
I've always heard when you bend them up a little bit, they run better. So maybe that was the case. Maybe that was the case. So honestly, Tim, in your opinion, so for a factory stock with the rules that are in place, and this is the last time that we'll dig into this, trying to decide what a good factory stock rule is. What's a good baseline number, for somebody to get into a competitive factory stock, amount of money that they should be spending?
There we go again. Really talking about are you going to be the catalog racer, or are you going to try to do everything yourself?
Yeah.
If you're buying every part new and basically getting one ready to go, you're looking at $20,000.
Damn.
If you do the majority of the stuff yourself, which I do, I get just my chassis built, and then I do everything from there, and can put together a new car probably 10 to 15 maybe.
That makes sense.
And still, that's still high.
It's a lot of money.
It is. But when we're during the year, you can find races anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 to win. Yeah. And the guys are going to spend it. Yeah.
But I do like that I see a lot of guys that go back to the tires are cheap. A lot of guys spend $30,000 on the car, and it's but the tires are cheap. So that's why I do it.
Well, I love the tires.
For sure.
There's nights.
Yeah.
At all the tracks, I go back and look at the lap times on the factory stocks, and we're as fast as some of the other classes above us.
Yeah.
And I think it's the tires.
Yeah, for sure.
we don't have as much straightaway speed, but I think we can carry as much, if not more, speed through the corners than some of the other classes are doing.
Yeah. So Tim, let me ask you this, because I've seen a lot of the asphalt tires. So with the pull-offs that you guys use, how much wear do they have? I mean, what is a good tire for a factory stock? I've always wondered that, how much wear off of them. I mean, some tires maybe not any good. I mean, what's a good pull-off for you guys?
A lot of it's going to depend on the track conditions. Cotton Bowl, most nights doesn't eat tires up very bad at all, unless it's sheep's footed and goes really dry. Then it'll eat the sidewall off of right rear in one race. But if there's some moisture in the track, you can go on tacky nights. I've run as many as 5 or 6 nights on the same sets of tires.
Damn.
So it's going to depend on track conditions. Of course, the drier and sandier a track, the more they're going to eat the tires up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, Bobby. The tire thing is the one thing I've always been curious about. So sorry about
You've been
that.
trying to get somebody to give you a factory stock ride forever.
but with a set of 4 tires still costing you less than what one threaded tire does for the other class. I mean, it's still affordable.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Sorry, I got sidetracked with you guys talking about the tires and stuff, trying to think of all the questions you done stolen from me, Rodney, trying to think about that. So Tim, we know that you can't make these things go around by yourself. We know you probably do. I know you got some sponsors, friends, and family you probably got to thank for this thing. So now's your chance to thank them.
Well, most of the people that know me know I do about 90 to 95% of my stuff by myself.
Yep.
I work out of the shop by myself. And I have to thank Don Wilde. He owns several cars himself. He's been around racing a long time, and he's been a tremendous help to me ever since I met him at Shady Oaks back in probably 2015. He's been on board with my racing program. We help each other a lot. So he's been very beneficial, as well as Pat Foreman with Pat Foreman Racing Heads. I met him probably in 2012, and he's been on board with me since then, and tons of knowledge there, and always just a phone call away. John Hobbs with Gunslinger Ammo has been on board with me now for a couple of years. He's a lot of help to me, and also a big supporter of Cotton Bowl. This year I got into this Predator race chassis car that Eric Martin built me. So it's been a good one. Thank him for his craftsmanship on that. That's pretty much all that I have on board with me as far as any kind of sponsorship.
Yeah.
So I want to thank my job for keeping me employed and keeping money to spend on the race car.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Tim, how cool is it for you? I mean, because like we keep talking about with the evolution of the factory stock and everything that's happened, I mean, for you to get out there, we talk about Tommy Gorell and all these guys, but I mean, you're in that same boat yourself. I mean, you do it all on your own. I mean, how cool is it for you to go and win this big old ass Oktoberfest, and you're one of them homegrown guys. You're doing this out of your own pocket.
Well, I was ready to, after I rolled the car that night and saw how much work it was going to be to get it back together, I was about done for the year. And then, of course, after you sit for a few days, you think about it. And after I thought about it for a few days, I was already a couple of days behind, and decided to go ahead and put it back together and get it ready. And of course, Don Wilde was on board. Whatever I needed, he was there to lend a hand to get parts ordered or whatever. So, so definitely fortunate to get back after that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, what's your favorite animal to hunt there, Tim? You're talking about going hunting here in the next couple of weeks. What's your flavor of choice over there?
Yeah, we had whitetail deer and hogs. And it's mainly just the getaway and associate with some friends and not have to worry about anything for a weekend. Yeah.
But isn't that the same thing? I mean, that's why we race. I mean, we go out, we hang out, we do our thing. And, it gets competitive. But, kind of the same concept right there.
It is. And toggle back and forth from racing and playing pool. Most that know me knows that I'm
Nice.
a pretty competitive pool player. So I
Sweet.
spend a lot of time playing pool competitive as well.
Yeah.
And it's a toss-up sometimes. It's like, do I really want to race and be out there in the heat this weekend, or do I want to go to a big tournament somewhere?
Yeah.
So
that's fun stuff.
But you get tired of both.
Oh yeah, and you quit them both. You quit them both all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Great win, dude. Way to win that Oktoberfest. When I saw Tim Homeyer winning that race, I said, good. That's good. Beat the big dogs, man. That was super cool, man. Pleasure to talk to you tonight, man, and jump on anytime. We'd love to talk factory stock or dirt racing anytime.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and like I said earlier, it's definitely fortunate, and I think I got really lucky to get that race this weekend. It could have easily been any of those other 27 drivers in that field. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Happy. So have you figured out? I mean, what you gonna do with the money? I mean, you have to. Is it in the backyard? I mean, you put that stuff underground, or is it going to be? Are you going to go play pool and just pay cash?
Property taxes are coming due, and in College Station, Brazos County taxes are out the roof.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Absolutely.
So right now, I'm looking at writing a check for taxes.
Yeah. There's always that. Way to go, my man. Congratulations on that big win, and keep kicking ass, dude. We'll see you at the Fall Classic.
Thanks, guys. You have a good one.
You bet, man. Take care. There he is, Tim Homeyer. A factor every time. That dude, he is so good. He is so good, man.
He really is. And like you said, he's one of the homegrown talents, despite not being from the closest relation city-wise to Cotton Bowl Speedway. He's always been one of the heavy hitters in that factory stock class for a long time. I was there that night that he flipped over that brand new car and totaled it. It was a beautiful machine.
Yeah.
I think it was coming out of turn 4 and just ended up, I think he hit one of the infield tractor tires and it just spin him, put him on his lid, and it tore that car all the way up. But he's always a factor, whether it be a weekly race. Every time he shows up, the guys sit there kind of like back in the old days with Freddie Fryer and some of when he showed up, everybody was like, well, we're fighting for second. So.
Yeah. He is another guy. I mean, because I've called so many races that he's been in, and I mean, you sit there and you watch him, and when everybody's on the bottom, he'll like go to the top, and he'll figure out a way to get up to the front, and he is just so good. I mean, he is just so good. But I love the candid conversation right there with him talking about the factory stock. He's kind of been the first one that's really admitted that at some point, we might have to find another class, because this thing is getting really, really costly.
It really is. I mean, it definitely, I think the way that we've determined over the course of this 2021 season, talking to all these different factory stock racers, is that factory stocks is no longer the entry-level class it started out to be.
Nope.
By no means. I mean, when you're talking about spending 10 to 15 grand on it just to try to get a competitive car, to run top 10s in this class, that's when it's not a competitive. It just becomes another racing class.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys are drawn to it because the cheapness of the tires, the less expensive tire bill you have, but at the same time, some of these big money races, they tear a lot of shit up.
Yeah, they do. I really do equate the factory stock dirt, the dirt factory stock. I equate that to the outlaw on the pavement side, because with that, I mean, the pro late models, the super late models. I mean, it's so much money to race those. With the body, you can build your own body. I mean, I kind of tie those two together. We've talked to so many outlaw drivers on this show before, to where I think that you can kind of tie those in together, where it's the equivalent of one another with that. I think that's one of the same with those two classes.
Yeah, I think so, because now you're getting you had the older home built cars.
Yeah.
Now you're getting the purpose built factory cars.
Yeah,
factory built cars. So yeah, that can definitely change things up a little bit.
And with the outlaws, I mean, they go and they buy the old chassis, however you want to say it. They go and they buy that, and they put the body on there, and I don't know. I mean, there's restrictions there, but again, I do tie those together. But regardless, both of those are great classes, and Tim Homeyer with that win, I mean, he beat the best of the best. And for Hopkins, I do want to shout out Hopkins because so many people say, wow, he only races at Waco. He looked really good this weekend.
Yeah, he really did. He was able to not be a one-track jack, and probably I think that was his first or second time over there at Cotton Bowl. He adjusted to that big track pretty quick and had a rocket ship.
Mm-hmm. He did. Back to the hotline for a final time tonight as we approach 7:30 Central Time here in Texas, and we're going to talk to one of our new friends. I mean, one of our good buddies. We made so many good friends, with the tie-in with Mobile, and this dude, and this is a guy that I give great applause because he pulled to Houston and came to race with us. It's Jerry Goff. Jerry, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys tonight?
Man, we are super good. Just talking racing, hashtag real race talk. Jerry, let's talk about the Houston race. I mean, you come in and, totally foreign track for you. You come in, little different thing there, but, man, that 10 truck was hooked up.
Yeah, it was a great time. We really enjoyed our time over in Houston. Had never put eyes on that track until we pulled over there and actually seen it. Spent a little bit of time YouTube videos trying to figure it out, the best I could before we got there. It worked out pretty good. We enjoyed the racetrack. And typically, I don't really like small tracks, so that was a surprise. But that's a great little track, and we had a blast.
Nice.
So, Jerry, how do you go about changing your driving style? Obviously, Mobile's big, fast, wide open, except for maybe turn 2, depending on who you talk to about racing over there. How do you go from that wide open track to have to sit there and kind of wiggle it around the corners there on the concrete corners in Houston?
It's definitely different for sure. Definitely a lot of talking yourself down. You can't just haul it off in the corners like you can at Mobile, like us Mobile guys are used to doing. You really got to make yourself, back the corners up, be smooth, and all of those things. It's not just, it's not just fly through the corners and rely on big straightaways because you don't have them,
Yeah.
And braking was a lot. We had to go through figuring out, brake zones and over braking and stuff like that. And it was definitely different, but I have to say it came to me really, really pretty quick. It felt almost natural. It's a little track, and the truck was really comfortable off the truck, really, and that helped a lot. I was just able to just sit in there and log laps, not have to really chase the truck around. So that helped a lot. But it is an adjustment, but we took to it pretty quick.
Yeah. Jerry, is that one of the things, I mean, because we've talked to so many people, I mean, just with the demise of racing in Texas, pavement racing, that, folks say, well, the Texans go race, on the Southeast or, whatever, but those guys don't come down here. Is that part of the thing where you guys have all those great tracks, whether it be Mobile, South Alabama, Pensacola, all these big tracks? Is it, I don't want to go race on that little track?
Not really. I mean, obviously the big race, kind of drew us out there and just, we had the conversation about let's go give it a shot. But also just the support that we've seen from the Texas drivers over at Mobile. I would say probably half the truck field at most of the Mobile races has been Texas guys. And so kind of wanted to give a little bit of that support back and go support them, just like, Miss Gina, she does a great job and bringing people from over there to over here. So we wanted to go over there and do the same thing. And also just kind of go see where we stack up. Those guys kind of come over here and come into our backyard and race with us and do well. And we wanted to do the same thing. How can we do on their home turf?
Yeah, that's great to know. So how has the opening of Mobile been for you? Obviously, that place has been dormant for a couple of years. Is that in your wheelhouse? Is that the place that you grew up racing? Or talk about your relationship with that big old half mile down there in Mobile.
Oh yeah, that's definitely our home track, and a lot of people down here have a lot of ties to that track that go way back. Some of us, I have buddies that I race with, and buddies that I know just from racing that have childhood memories, at that racetrack and going there, whether it be with their family, their dad's racing, or whatever that may be. So to see it just sit there and no racing going on definitely hurt all of us, just knowing what it could be. But the reopening of it has been great. That's been everything that everybody around here could have expected and more. A lot of people just kind of thought that it was going to go away, and nobody was really going to step in and do anything with it. And it turned out great. We've all enjoyed being back there. We had to go race at Five Flags for a couple of years. That's really all we had that was considered local. And we all like Five Flags, but we all like our home track. We all kind of feel like we kind of grew up there, whether you actually did or you just been racing there for a few years. You know everybody, and everybody feels comfortable there.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about it for you. I mean, you've done this for a bit. Talk about the progression for you. I mean, starting out, up to the trucks now, but everything in between. How has Jerry Goff become the racer that he is today?
Yeah, so in 2010 is when we actually got started in racing. My dad dabbled in racing a little bit back in the 90s and when I was real small, and he got out of it, and I was playing ball as a kid, and I did that all the way to college. And when that was over, I kind of tell the same story to everybody. Everybody says, "Man, how'd you start racing?" And it's like, well, I was bored. I quit playing ball and was working, and I didn't have anything to be competitive at.
Right. Right.
And so we started doing that, and you make friends along the way, and they help you out, and it just grows from there. So we went from, four-cylinder racing up to pure stock racing at Mobile back in 2011 is when I first started racing pure stocks there.
Wow.
And kind of dabbled around in a lot of things. I've owned a lot of race cars, but I haven't really ran a whole lot of races. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. I wanted to do everything. And so I never really stuck to one thing, but I always kind of felt good in pure stocks, and that's where most of my success was in the pure stocks for the longest time. And we got back to that with the McCarrans and Rusty McCarran over the last couple of years, and that relationship has grown into truck racing, believe it or not. I still have a hard time believing it sometimes.
That's awesome, man. That is kick-ass.
So, Jerry, when we started the show, we were talking about the need or the want for a racetrack to have a really good entry-level class, whether that class may be a mini stock with the 4 or 6 cylinders like the Eco stocks in Houston and a little bit in Mobile and different stuff like that. So how is it more important to get the next generation of blood racing in those classes there, or is it more important for the racetrack as a whole to get more cars there?
Kind of both, and I think the fine line is between both. How do you make it affordable for people, but how do you also attract new people? The sport has to have new people coming into it, just like anything else. I mean, people come in, they do it for a few years, and it's expensive, and they get tired of spending money, and they move on. So you got to find a way to get new people in. And there's a great track over here close to us, Sunny South, that a lot of kids race at, and they come through there with the legend cars and the bandoleros, and that's a good thing. And then they step up to the big track, and they kind of go all over the place. Some of them go pure stock racing, some of them go sportsman racing, but it's just whatever you can afford. But that's the theme with everybody across every level, whether it's entry level or not. It's just, can you afford it?
Yeah.
And I think we have some good entry level racing at Mobile. There's also some guys that have been in those classes for a while, which is good competition for the new guys. And as far as affordable in racing, we could sit here and talk all night.
Yeah. I don't think that's really a word to equate with racing. But so Jerry, your thoughts? I mean, you see it, out there in Mississippi. I mean, how? We've lost all the pavement racing here in Texas, but I mean, just with super late models and pro late models, now you got the outlaws that kind of factor in here. And like we were saying, we've got a factory stock class on dirt that kind of encompasses some of that. I mean, how hard is it? I mean, it's just, it's a lot, man. It's so hard to find the class to race in when everything is so expensive.
It is, and that it's just, you got to figure out what you like, if you and then if you can afford to do that. I mean, if it, like we with the truck deal, we liked the trucks. We felt like that's something we could be good at, that we could afford to do, and that's kind of what led us in that direction. We're also really involved in the outlaw class with JJ Day and the Presser brothers, so we kind of get to do that too. So we have the benefit of doing a couple of different things. But and I think we've seen some promoters that's really helping the lower level classes. You know, for years it was always just the big, you know, the only big money races you could go to were pro late model, super late model races, and not the everyday guy can afford to go do that. So I think what some of these promoters have done a good job of is like the $10,000 race for the trucks in Texas, you know, and the big money races for the outlaws and big money races for some of the pure stocks and the sportsmen, and attracts those guys to where they don't just feel like they're a side part of the show. You know, for a couple of races a year, they're the show. You know, and that's a lot of guys like that feeling, and I think a lot of the promoters are starting to really grasp that. I think some of the spotlight is coming down from the late model world a little bit into the outlaws and the trucks and things. Now, don't get me wrong, super late models, pro late models will always be the top. You know, that's always the goal. But it's good to see some love being shown to the lower levels, and I think that's really what's growing the classes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jerry, I don't know if you got a chance to work with it all. Has the change to the American racers, has that opinion changed down there in Mobile? It seemed like that was an uproar and a question about whether or not that was the right decision. But it seems like everybody that's actually got a chance to race on the American racers has been pleased with the tire itself.
Yeah, and I will admit that I was one of the skeptics at the start of the season, just because it was new to all of us. You know, some people, I think they run them in North Alabama, maybe if you go up there and run some, but down here it's always been Hoosier. You know, for as long as I've been around over the last 10 years, and or street tires on the pure stocks. But so everybody was a little skeptical. It was just something new to learn, and we weren't really sure how it was going to work out. But I'll tell you this. We just raced over at Five Flags, our last race, and I had conversations with drivers over there about how, man, I wish we ran American racers everywhere.
Nice.
Because we went out to Houston and ran a 75-lap race out there, and those tires felt great from the start to the finish. And we got a set of tires for practice, put about 35, 40 laps on them, and they look brand new. You know, and then you just don't get that out of the Hoosiers. The Hoosiers, especially lately, I don't know what it is. There's a lot of, you know, talk going on about what's going on with Hoosier tires, but they haven't been very consistent. They've been difficult to size. They don't last very well. They don't take heat cycles very well. They're, you know, completely different from one set to the next. But you know, the American racers for us, as soon as we kind of started coming around to how to size them up and things like that, and how to take care of them and how to use them, you know, with what the setups that we already had for Mobile. I think everybody likes them now. You know, I don't know if you'd find anybody at Mobile that would say a bad word about American Racer tires, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man, that is great to hear. I mean, because that was a big gamble. I know with Gina, we talked in depth about that, and she was so on the fence about what to do with that, and I think it worked out. You know, with the tire shortage and the, you know, mass production that Hoosier's trying to do right now, that they have to do. I mean, obviously they're the main, you know, supplier, but something you said, Jerry, about these trucks. I mean, Gina and I have talked about this as well, where I really think this truck series is something that's it's kind of sitting there because people do go to the pro late models and supers. I think the trucks, this thing, I think it could really blow up along the Gulf Coast with all the pieces in line. I think this could be a massive series.
I think you're right, and I think that it's closely enough related to late model racing. I mean, if you sit in a truck and you drive it, and you've ever driven anything like that or close to a late model, it's different, but it's not way different. You know what I mean? It's close, but it's not $100,000 race cars. You know what I mean? So I really think that the trucks have a good opportunity in the position that they're in, as long as the rule book, you know, can stay where everybody can kind of play within the rules and not go too crazy with money spending. And you know, the tire situation has been good for everybody. And I think a lot of attention is being kind of turned to the trucks, you know, at Mobile and at Houston and Five Flags too. We've seen pretty good fields at each track. So
yep, that's for sure.
So Jerry, you're talking about Five Flags in Pensacola. How often do you get a chance to race down there, and how much do you have to change your stuff when you run from? Obviously, we know you change your stuff when you come to Houston versus Mobile, but how much you have to change your stuff going from Mobile to Pensacola?
As little as possible, and I'll be straight up honest with you. We unloaded off the trailer at Five Flags the same way we loaded it up on the trailer in Houston.
Is that right?
You know, I mean, just
man.
Oh wow.
I mean, it was the truck was really good, so we were like, hey, if it'll turn on this little track, let's take it to Five Flags. You know, it has to turn over there.
Yeah.
So I mean, we tried. Of course, you're going to change some odd man things here and there, but I mean, we found a really good baseline that we like. Thanks to Kevin Raywinkle. I don't think that's a name you hear enough around short track racing, especially around Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
He works on the truck, the setup wise, and their Outlaw that JJ drives. And man, that truck spent some time over there before it went, and he went front to back. You know, everything, just making sure everything was right, and putting us on a really good baseline, and then to where it was just small adjustments from here to there. And really what we found is you can take that same baseline and just tweak it from one track to the next. And that's been really good for us. You don't have to spend hours and hours, you know, making laps in practice, just trying to find a little bit of speed.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. I mean, that's really the way it should be. I mean, that's kind of one of the things where, you know, with the all-day shows and everything that folks talk about. I mean, that is a great thing to hear. So talk about the days we've talked to JJ on here, and of course Jimmy. You know, great folks right there, and the McCarrans. I mean, I think that, you know, AJ shows up and kind of floats under the radar there from time to time at the racetrack. But I mean, talk about those folks. I mean, just great folks that are very instrumental in racing along the Gulf Coast.
Oh yeah. The days, of course, have been around for a long time. Jimmy's been racing dirt races for a long time, and now asphalt. And then JJ came up right behind him. But that whole group as a whole, I can't tell people enough how just incredible they've been to me. It all kind of come together by chance. You know, I got a car back in 2011, and then JJ and I just became friends.
Yeah.
You know, on and off, you know, away from the racetrack, hanging out, talking about a lot of things, and then I started going to the racetrack with them, and then now they can't go to a racetrack without me. You know, so it's those kind of friendships that you make over the years that just, I mean, you got to have them, and Rusty McCarran, AJ, Rusty's dad, you know, that whole group, they've been the same way. You know, JJ's known Rusty and AJ for years, and when they kind of introduced me into that group, Rusty and AJ kind of wanted to get into racing a little bit. They've always been fans. They've come down to the racetrack for years. I don't know if people even know that.
Yeah.
But they've been big race fans, and we kind of got hooked up, and kind of the same deal. We became friends. We hang out away from the racetrack. We go and do things, you know, with the families and all those kinds of things. And those friendships that are we're all friends that happen to race. You know, and that's the kind of relationship that we have, and I think that it's really showed up great results, you know, for everybody.
Yeah,
in racing.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and that's what it's all about. I mean, racing. I mean, it's hanging out with friends. I mean, yeah, we all want to win and do all this other stuff, but when you get to go hang out, I mean, that's really what it's all about. That's our sport. So. Jerry, I mean, put it in detail for you guys. We always like to talk to guys that come on here. Just sum up for the Mobile thing. Now, I know we talked about that for that place to be opened up and for there's a future there. I mean, how big is that? Not just for you, but for the whole racing community, because that place is so important to so many people.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think that'll be really great for the area. You know, the racetrack, of course, and everybody that likes racing. You know, around this area. Of course, it's, you know, this area is big into racing, and I really think that it'll bring people back to the racetrack, and kind of away from all the other things that there are to do, you know, around here. But also for us, that, like, I've got a son. He loves racing. You know, and I hope that maybe one day he can race there too. You know, so a lot of us like to try to carry on that tradition, but also we want to share it. You know, we want other people to come down. You always like making new friends and meeting new people, and that racetrack has always been a center for that. You know, it brings people together. It gives us something to do that we all enjoy. You know, and so it's a huge thing for this area, for that racetrack to be going for a lot of people that's already there and people that haven't gotten there yet. I think it's a great opportunity to tap into that side of things. So it's really great to see it going and doing well, and I hope that it continues.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Jerry, you are the man, and I just want to thank you for everyone from Texas. Thank you for coming to race with us, because I mean it was to see you there and getting on the podium. I mean, it's so cool, dude. Thanks for the support, and thanks for coming to Mobile, and bigger. Thanks for coming to Texas. It's a long haul, man.
Oh yeah, man, we had a blast out there. I tell everybody that's over here that's even talked about going out there, just go. I mean, it's a blast. I mean, the people are nice. You know, you first kind of show up and everybody's like, well, I think I know that guy. But then you go out there and you go out there and you run pretty well, and then you'll be amazed how many people start coming to talk to you.
Then they really know you.
I mean, it's been great, though. The people were awesome. We couldn't have asked for it. We hung out at the hotel with everybody, and talked to a lot of new people, and that's half the experience right there. And we really enjoyed it. Everybody was great, and we'll definitely be coming back. We're looking forward to doing that again. So
I think I met you in person. It may have been early Sunday morning, but I think I met you. Trying to remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I met so many people out there. It's kind of been the Texas guys come to Mobile, and we all kind of know who each other is, but we haven't really gotten a chance to talk a whole lot. But those kind of deals kind of breaks down some of those walls, and everybody starts talking, and then next thing you know, you're talking to them all the time.
It's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Jerry Goff, you are the man, buddy. We'll see you soon, man. Thanks for checking in tonight.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Take care. There he is, Jerry Goff. It's good people. Good people over there.
Well, you probably remember the beginning of the night at the Holiday Inn a whole hell of a lot better than you remember the end of the night at the Holiday Inn. I'm right there with you.
Need that bell.
I kind of remember.
Shit, I need the bell.
I remember that. I remember that evening. It felt a lot more fun there on early Sunday morning than it did late Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Good stuff. Bobby, so what do you think? And thanks to Jerry Goff for checking in. I mean, I love that. I mean, I love talking to those folks. Just great people over there. What's Tony Stewart?
That's
sorry.
That's an over. Like that's a one of the voiceovers. Next time we get somebody to do a little commercial or something, or a preview story about Mobile. We need to put Jerry's story in there about how he raced, and I got a son that wants to race there one day. And I think that's a perfect clip for a voiceover. But I have no idea what Tony Stewart's going to be doing there. It's going to be the 4-wide deal.
NHRA president Glenn Cromwell is supposed to be a part of this. So I don't know, man. Is he going to have a team? I mean,
that's the only thing.
Stuart Haas going to drag racing, or what the hell's going on?
My guess would be it's Tony Stewart racing with Leah Pruitt as the driver would be my first instinct. But hell, we've been wrong before.
Well, I don't know. That'd be boring. I mean, it makes sense. Maybe they're getting married. Are they married yet?
Not yet. Not that I'm aware of, unless they went and shotgunned it somewhere.
Well, maybe they did. You never know. But we'll see. By Thursday, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock Eastern. That will be interesting to see what he's getting into next. Bobby, your thoughts? I've had a lot of folks that ask me this too. It's not on the Russ Hot Pit, but the Speed 51 Race America thing. And look, I mean, I know that there's a lot of competition for streaming stuff and whatever the case may be, but I kind of like this. I like this concept.
I think that it's a lot easier to follow something called Racing America than Speed 51. While the new Speed 51 logo is fantastic, Speed 51 has turned themselves more into the place to go for your short track racing stuff.
Yeah, they have. They have.
Are they competitors of ours? Yeah, kind of on the same level. But the Bull Ring's a great show. You and I both actually watch the Bull Ring all the time.
But I have to give them credit, because I've talked to Alan Dietz. They don't coincide. So, mutual thing there. So you figure that part out.
But I think in terms of transition it to a Racing America, I think it better fits the brand. For years, it was Speed 51 was the brand. But then they started branching out to more than just doing the Snowball Derby coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Like they started doing the Snowball Derby coverage online.
with the I remember watching races when Chase Elliott got DQ'd one time by a live update like Nick Holt used to do there on a message board.
Yeah.
There on Lone Star Speed Zone. Then they started broadcasting the races, and they did the radio stuff. Then they did the internet stuff. Then they branched out away from the Derby. And as they branched out, I think that the term Racing America works out much better for them from a major name brand recognition, because it makes more sense. You're always going to have your insiders, right? We as insiders and people around the racing universe, we know Speed 51. As soon as you think of Speed 51, you're like, boom, what race are they showing up next?
Right.
Just like they showed the racing over there at Nashville. But I think transitioning to Racing America, that's where the influence of the RTA comes through, because I think they wanted something that had more of a national presence to it, because they cover races coast to coast. And I think Racing America was the right way to do that. Plus, our friend Matt Weaver is involved with it too on the editorial side. So,
well, and that's the biggest win right there. I mean, for me, they have shifted, and they were. I mean, they were really aggressive. There for a while. I mean, remember they wouldn't let us cover the race at Snowball. You remember we showed up and it was like, okay, you got to check in with them and whatever. And that's just one of those things. But I think that they've. It's all that's changed. I mean, it's a whole different conglomerate or whatever you want to call it, and I really think that it's going to be really good. And they are really going to the grassroots thing, which that's what we need. And Race on Texas does a great job as well here. But there's just who would have thought, Bobby? We've done this for so long. Who would have thought that we'd be sitting here talking about ways to stream, which we'd have never known what stream was. Man, there's ways to take in the races without being there. And that's a huge win, I think, for racing across the board, for short track racing across the board.
Well, I think it's just changed. The quality of the streaming has changed. Back when you used to look at an internet broadcast, it was like, boom, like what the hell? It's like an old dial-up service with the picture being grainy and blurry and all kind of stuff. Now with the technologies out there, you got crystal clear HD video piping through on your sports app. Whether that be through your computer or through your smartphone or through your smart TV. So I think that's been able to change to where you're watching the same quality of broadcast that you would see for like a national series, like a cup race or a truck race on TV, for the comfort of your own living room.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of the thing. I mean, look at this show. I mean, we're jamming 1080, HD video on this show. I mean, and that's where it's all shifted so much to where this is the future of what we do. But, I think that's going to be a good thing. But, hey, we got to talk about Caden Honeycutt, 1 point back of Bobby McCarty, and they are racing for that late model stock car championship at South Boston. How about one of our dudes winning that title? I think that'd be cool.
Well, it'd be cool to have our dudes go back to back with Jared Fryer and Caden Honeycutt.
Right.
But I think it's different for Caden Honeycutt because Caden Honeycutt still lives here. He's still a Texan, true and true. And he's made such a growth in his development going from late model stock cars. It's such a different animal than what he usually races with the high power to weight ratio of his dirt late model and then the super late model that he ran a couple of times there at the Derby and some other big races for Donnie Wilson. So Caden has a chance to do something really special. 1 point out. That's I'm assuming that's going to be one position on the racetrack for them to go. So it's cool to be part of his journey. Obviously, he's a friend of the show, been on the show multiple times. Really good kid, got a great attitude, got a great family supporting him, and I'm cheering for him. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Got to ask you, Bobby, before we check out of here. We're heading to TMS. I mean, folks don't care about NASCAR, I know, but we're seeing next gen testing and everything that's going on. How cool is it? We played that soundbite there with Chase and Kevin. How cool is it that people are pissed off at each other? Isn't that? I mean, that's pretty cool. I like that.
It's pretty good that there's a rivalry back in town. Now, whether or not it's over, who knows? I don't think we'll see retaliation. See, the deal on that, I think Kevin Harvick meant to spin him out. I don't think Harvick meant to put him in the fence like he put him in there.
Yeah. He definitely meant to hit him. But
he meant to hit him, but I don't think he meant to have him climb into that concrete fence. It's like one of those, like when you go a little bit too far, you're like, oh shit. Oops.
Yeah. A little too much. Two big races coming up. We talked about the Fall Classic coming up at Waco. Late models on Friday night. Then you got the fall. I mean, that is going to be a great show. We got to talk about October 29th and 30th at I-37. the DTK Memorial Race. I mean, yeah, big race season, big race hunting, as we talked about there with Tim Homeyer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of big races. I think Edna has one more race up on the 23rd,
Championship
or 25th.
night, isn't it?
Yeah, championship night at Edna. The actual date escapes me, but then you got the big clash there at the end of November. So, yeah, it's going to be the big money races are here. The tracks love putting on the big shows because they get an opportunity to showcase their track. When they put on. That's when they make sure the paint's looking good and the track's extra prepped and making sure the concessions are hot. And the right number of jalapenos are on the nachos, as our good friend KR likes to talk about.
Yeah. And actually, you get to bundle up because it's going to get cooler. It's going to be cool. You get to cool off at the racetrack. But, yeah, best wishes to all those racetracks as they get set for their big shows. This was fun. Brittany Zamora, hey, that was fun. I wasn't sure if she was calling, but that was fun. I love that.
Yeah, the future's bright for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Homeyer, the man that wins all that money, all that cash money. How are you going to roll up to the bank with that? They're going to think you up to no good. And then, of course, great conversation right there. With Jerry Goff. I mean, well-spoken. I mean, these guys, they just love that racing along the Gulf Coast.
I think so. I think that Mobile connects with a lot of hearts and resonates with a lot of people. And it's good to be a part of that deal. Is a small part of I have in it.
Yeah,
we're trying to work with the powers that be over there with the Gulf Coast Racing Series, and it's a pretty cool deal. It's a fun joint. If you hadn't had a chance to go out there, it is worth the drive from Texas to go down there for a big race. I know the next time that the Southern Super Series is there, I'll be sitting front row and center for that race.
AA Alan Alexander checking in. That is one of the guys that's spending lots of money on this 37 race. So hopefully the weather is gonna check out. That's the tricky part. Now when we get to the end of the year, you got to have the weather in place, and hopefully that'll be the case. 37. I want to see them finish with a sprint. I want all these tracks to do well, and this is when they really do well because they can move off of the big race season and vault into 2022 as it would be in this case.
Yeah, and Alan just spent some time with our buddy Phil Whipple for a Race on Texas premiere. That's right. He got to spend time with our Yankee friend Phil Whipple.
I got to check that out. I bet AA didn't mention either one of us.
He might have mentioned you.
No, he probably didn't.
Maybe.
I'm sure he didn't.
It's because we hadn't let him come on the show yet. That's the problem.
That's right. We need to get him on. That'll be a full throttle edition. Great program, friends. Thanks a lot. Brittany Zamora, Jerry Goff, Tim Homeyer, and all of you that checked in. Great program. I love this show.
Yeah.
Tuesday night, a little different. Yeah. That's okay. Go Astros. Way to go. Advance. Beat Boston.
That's right. Beat the Red Sox, and as long as you don't hear no trash cans popping in the background, they can't question this one.
Hey, I went and hit a trash can after the series today. After it ended, I hit a trash can. I did it. I'll post it later. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. Great program it is. #Real Race Talk from Texas. We'll see you next week.